Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
So, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glow Cloud team.
right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another cloud computing career Q&A session from us at Go Cloud Careers. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here. I am joined by Mike Gibbs, our founder and CEO, and Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer. And we are here today, as we are every week, to answer any questions that you might have about your cloud computing career. Whether it be a cloud architect career, cloud engineer career, or any type of cloud career that you're interested in, or that you're starting on, or that you're in the middle of, or at the end of, whatever it might be. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions. But in particular, if you're starting your development path, you're starting down your cloud architect training or your cloud computing training, and you want to make sure that you're going down the right cloud architect career path or the cloud engineer training path, ask us your questions so that we can help you start off on the right foot and get you there as quickly as possible. So I do have to tell everybody, please don't be shy. Ask us your questions. If you've got a question, ask it. I see that there's 16 people from YouTube. I can't see how many are on LinkedIn. My computer's being a little weird. If you're here, you saw the title. You didn't just happen upon our live stream. You saw the title and saw that it said Q&A. So the assumption is that if you're here, you've got a question. We're happy to answer those questions. So please put them in the chat box, put them in the comments. There we go. 7 of you on LinkedIn right now. Sorry, I had to refresh my feed. So if you've got questions, ask them so that we can help you. Anyway, Mike, Alonzo, anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Yes, absolutely. The reason we do these every week is as follows. I've been an architect now for 25 years, and whether it was a network architect, cloud architect, an enterprise architect, a business architect, it's been a great career. But I got to tell you, I've spent more than 2 decades helping people get their first job or get promoted in tech or negotiate raises. And it's the saddest thing in the world. So many people work so hard, and we're talking about highly educated, highly intelligent, hardworking people. They get 15 certifications, they try this, and when they want to get the job of their dreams, they can't. And that's why we come here. I made the same mistake in the beginning. I took this $5,000 MCSU boot camp. I did a CCNA on my own because I saved a couple bucks there because it was easy. I did an $11,000 CCNP boot camp. Then I did a CCDA and a CCDP. And I got to tell you, not a single employer cared about it at all. I mean, zero. And then I started asking some experts in the technology industry, what do I really need to get hired? People that made it, people that were VP level, director level, principal architect, principal engineers. And I said, what do I need to do? Poof, they told me. I asked some recruiters, and I was hired virtually overnight. And I was hired at a salary that was higher than most people that had been working for 5 to 10 years in technology. And all of you can do it too. Every one of you can have any job that's going to make you so happy. You know, we don't have to make a choice, work or family. We can love what we do, have a great time at work, and then come home and spend the time with our family, and then sleep good at night and be peaceful and do it again and have harmony and balance in our life. So I want you to ask questions because I don't want you to make the same mistakes. There's 2 approaches when it comes to learning. Some people think making mistakes is a great way to learn. I think it's the worst way to learn, and here's what I mean. If you can learn from other people's mistakes, you don't have to make them yourself. So, I asked people, I asked the VP of networking on my first job, how do I become the top and the best you can? And he said, do this, do this, do this. You'll be a principal architect in 2 years. And I was. Not the 20 years that most people had expected. And it wasn't because I was smart. It was because I asked people who already made it. And that's why we're here. I want the best for you. This is a great, great, great world. So ask us your questions so we can assist you and coach you and guide you and build the best career. Alonzo, how about you to kick it off?
Couldn't have said it better, Mike. These gentlemen, we are all here to help you. We have an amazing established leadership. We have experience. We have a great supportive staff. We have a wonderful community that can definitely underscore what we're talking about, not only from those who have just started, maybe as early as today, but those who have matriculated on into becoming successful, competent, and capable cloud architects. So we have a wide audience across all levels, across all time frames, that can underscore and communicate how well they're doing, their experiences, and what we're able to leverage towards your towards your overall career. So please ask your questions. This is what we do. We're usually in the proverbial lab, if you will, planning, working on how we can make a better experience for our clients, our staff, and our students. And now's the time to do so. So please, there's no stupid questions. Ask away.
Favorite question. Perfect one to start with. Harshal says, can one who's been from a non-tech background learn here?
Of course.
Yes, absolutely.
So my team will buzz me if I give you too many names, so I'll keep it short. I used to practice internal medicine, but I can tell you when we started this company, we had Delroy Batt, really fine young man from ambulances. A couple months later, he's a cloud security architect. Now, maybe it was he got his first job with us inside of 3 months, and then a year later, he got a cloud security architect job. Ivan Tamba was working as a waiter, hired by AWS as a solution architect as his first job. Jordan Kitko, same thing, college student, no experience in tech, hired by AWS. While we're at it, Coyote, I forget what he was doing in college, but he got hired by AWS. Jeffrey West was a student of ours, a really great guy. He was a geologist. He got hired by Caliant right straight out of our program. Kemi Thompson over there in the UK was a project manager, not really anything to do with this. And of course, she's now a lead architect and she's doing great, as was Daniel Bosa, who we trained, who didn't graduate high school, who was working at JP Morgan Chase, and he was selling shoes at Nordstrom before that. While we're at it, people that JP Morgan Chase hired, which were really great hires for them, they hired Jennifer Ema. She was a mental health worker before she came to us, and she's now a solution architect with JP Morgan Chase. Wallace Agana was a sales rep, not in tech. He's an enterprise architect, which is an even bigger role than a cloud architect, working at JP Morgan Chase. Now, there was Noah Parker, who was a social worker. We helped him get a great architect job. And Chris is looking like he's ready to get the buzzer and stop me. But the point is, all of you, Harshal, I want to tell you this. Nobody's born an airplane pilot. Harshal, nobody's born a physician. And Harshal, nobody's born a doctor. And if you want to get these great jobs, it has nothing to do with what you did in the past. It has everything to do with what you choose to do now. When I left healthcare for tech, everybody told me I couldn't. 6 months later, I was a lead architect. And I had surpassed the people with 15 years experience. The point is, it's all about your training. If you train as if your life depended upon it, if you go and you purchase training from the best training providers in the world, you will have the training to do anything you've ever desired in your life. So Harshal, just believe in yourself, find out what you want to do, and then go after it with a force and a vengeance and a passion. And where do you see the amazing things that can happen? Either one of you guys want to?
And I want to chime in here. You said learn here. I assume by here you mean with us. And the answer is absolutely. So Tyrone, can you put the banner up and put the link for the webinar tomorrow in the chat box? So tomorrow we will have a how to become the ultimate cloud architect webinar, completely free. It'll be on Zoom so that you can actually come and talk to us off mute, not have to go through a chat box. You can actually have a conversation with us. You can find out exactly how we do what we're talking about doing, and find out exactly how all those people that Mike just talked about were able to do this without any previous tech background. So our program is designed specifically with no tech experience in mind. Our assumption is that people joining our programs don't have any tech knowledge, and that's how we've designed it. So absolutely, you can do this without any tech background. And the overwhelming majority of people that are in the program and have been successful in the program actually don't have a tech background. So, because it's a little known secret that, especially for the architect role, the tech background is probably going to be a detriment to you. If you've got too strong of a tech background and are too techie of a person, and you don't have the business skills, the social skills, the emotional intelligence skills, and you don't have the big picture perspective that doesn't come with most tech roles. If you don't have that, then it's going to be difficult for you. And so those that don't have a tech background usually actually have a better smoother, I guess is probably the right word, smoother.
They have a smoother time. So
Yeah.
let me touch on that and help Chris out, because he's right. He's seen it. He's watched our engineering students have a harder time going from engineer to architect than people that never were in tech. Here's the thing. Engineers must focus on the technology in front of them. Architects must focus on the big picture. And after you've focused on what's in front of you for so long, it's often hard to focus on the big picture. It's like before I practiced internal medicine, I was a nurse. And the nurses that became nurse practitioners and physicians later had a really hard time with it because they kept thinking like a nurse. How do I do this? How do I do this? As opposed to the physician thinking, which was, how do I plan this? Now, personally, it was nothing transition for me because I spent almost no time as a nurse. And poof, it was easy. But the people that I went to school with that had a big nursing background that then studied internal medicine in the form of being nurse practitioners had a hard time with it. Same thing for engineers. If they've been working on code their whole life, and now they've got to talk to a client about what are their business goals, where do they see the company 5 years from now, what are the business challenges they have, what problems do they have with the customer journey, what's going on with the customer buying experience, what is their vision for the future, how does their business currently work, what are their routes to revenue. And these are just some of the things we need to focus on as architects. And obviously we teach all these things, and that's why our students get hired every day. But the key is the architect has to consider all of this. Plus, how does all the technology work, not just what in front of them. So if you have an engineering background and you're techie, great. But now you got to go learn something new. And if you've not been in tech, chances are you're better at some of those other skills. And now you got to learn the tech skills. But no matter where you're at, we all need training, because you don't go from nurse to doctor without training, and you don't go from engineer to architect in most cases without training too. Even I had to go to special training to become a better architect that was focused on all those other skills. So just believe in yourself.
All right. Let's see. Darnell says, hello, everyone. Is it true that you don't teach cloud engineering anymore, and why?
Yes, I will definitely teach you that. And I'm also going to walk through something with you after I explain it. So at Go Cloud Careers, we are obsessed with making sure our students get great jobs at the end of the program. We like to focus on jobs that have a strong future, so that if you train with us 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you've got a rocket ship-like career. The problem with cloud engineering is we feel it's going to change very rapidly, and we feel that 50% or more of the cloud engineers will lose their jobs, and we feel that the cloud engineering salary is going to go from half of what the architect is to much less. And here's the reason why. Darnell, a lot of an architect does cannot be replaced by technology. I've got to go meet with the client. I've got to ask about their business strategy. After I ask about their business strategy, I have to then figure out how they want to move for the future. I've got to map out their business processes, their current business architecture. I've got to help them design the new business architecture. I've got to examine their current technology requirement. After that, I've got to figure out what new technologies are going to build that business the way they want it. I've got to manage stakeholders along the way. I've got to present the solutions back. I've got to negotiate the solutions back, and I've got to sell it. Here's the thing with that, Darnell. It's all human to human. And the human to human nature that marries the business and technology is almost impossible to replace. That's why no matter what, any cloud architect with the right skills, regardless if they have experience or not, can easily get hired if they have the right skills. Now, here's the problem with cloud engineering, Darnell. Here's what most cloud engineers do. They work with Linux, maybe write bash shell scripts and install things. And I can go right now to ChatGPT and I can ask it to write a bash shell script for me. Now, cloud engineers do a lot of infrastructure as code deployment. And I can go to ChatGPT or any other any other generative AI tool, and I can generate a Terraform script in seconds. I can also immediately write a Python script in AI in a matter of seconds. So much of what the cloud engineer's job can actually be done with artificial intelligence. And this is now, not 5 years from now. Now you got to remember, Microsoft just invested $10 billion in it, and every other country you can think of. Some of the big consulting companies have also invested billions. What we're going to see in AI 5 years from now is going to be extraordinary. And I truly believe with the NVIDIA CEO, when he said 5 years from now, everybody will be a programmer because they'll say, here, make me a new website with blue and green colors, and the AI will actually do it. So we don't want to give careers that we don't have a future. We love engineers around here. But I also want to show you a little bit of something from economics, which I actually think is also going to help a little bit. I want to show you a supply and, well, you know what? I don't know how to actually, oh, perfect, you for sharing this. So here's what we have right now. We have a supply and demand curve. And what you can see is this little red dot that you have over here. This is where the salary is. So the greater the supply of people, the lower the salary. So here, I want you to see this. So everybody learns to code in college, for the most part. Coding is easy to learn and free on the internet. So let's start over here with an architect's job. Here we've got an architect that has a 50-50 blend of technology and business skills. And hence you can see that red dot is high. And that's why the average architect's salary is $218,000 a year for the cloud architect. It's hard because you've got to find someone that can give a great presentation, someone that can lead, someone that can sell, someone that can build a business case, someone who can negotiate, and someone can design. These are all rare skills. In fact, we're the only people that actually teach them outside of an MBA program, and that's why our students work at every cloud provider and every big consulting firm you can imagine. Now, let's think about this. Design, most people don't know, but a lot of people know how to code. So that's going to increase, I'm sorry, I'll figure out how to lower this angle. So that's going to increase the supply. Now, AI can do the work of a lot of what engineers actually do. So that's going to further increase the supply, whether it's AI or a person. There's a lot of training and certification, which teaches very little or nothing about being an architecture, but it teaches more in engineering. Now the certifications are, AWS allows free exam retakes. Microsoft now allows, open book exams, further increasing the supply. So, this is what we see going on with cloud engineer salaries. And with architect salaries, because we've got the leadership, the sales, the executive presence, the emotional intelligence, the business acumen. And now more and more technologies are coming out like AI. And the more technologies come out, the more architects' jobs that exist, because we have more tools to design and help businesses, you can see salaries keep going up. And that's the reason we try not to teach engineering at our school. We love engineers. Engineers take our blueprints and bring them to life. But we don't want to see someone spend a lot of time and a lot of effort in a career where we think people are going to struggle in the future. Plus, we've been architects forever. We're recognized in every magazine that you can think. We've been in 150 publications, and everybody knows us for architecture. So we want to do what we can do better than anybody else, and we want to protect our clients and only introduce them to the best and highest paying careers.
All right. Diggleman says, say hello to your newest student. Hello.
Hello, welcome, Dingleman. We've seen you here for a while. Well, we're so happy to work with you.
We'll have you in class tomorrow. All right.
Welcome.
Stefano says, I work as a field IT engineer for the past 6 months. Looking forward to advancing in my career. AWS or Azure?
Neither.
Okay, Stefano, they're the same. So all anybody's cloud is somebody else's network and data center. For the most part, they all buy servers from the same people. They buy routers and switches and storage from the same people. They buy load balancers from the same people. And it's kind of like if you went to the supermarket and you said, I bought eggs from Publix versus Albertsons versus Aldi, or whatever the supermarket is in your village. It doesn't matter whether you go to Marks and Spencer or Harrods. It's just a store. It's just closed. So, if you're buying the same product, it doesn't matter. So for us, it's about learning the cloud. All a cloud is a virtualized network in a data center. I've been working on cloud since 1996. So I want you to think about it this way. When you learn to drive your car, does it matter which car you learn to drive? Can you go from a Honda, a Toyota, BMW, Mercedes? Of course you can. If you truly learn the underlying cloud technology, virtualization of virtual machines, whether AWS calls it an EC2 instance, Google calls it a compute engine instance, or Azure calls it a virtual machine. It's the same technology. If you understand object storage, which exists in the data center, as it also exists in the cloud providers, it doesn't matter if AWS calls it S3, Google calls it cloud storage, or Azure calls it blob. It's the same technology. If you understand BGP, it's the same BGP when you work on any other cloud provider. So I recommend that you learn the cloud, the way you would learn to drive. When you learn the underlying technology, you can pass any cloud exam and it's nothing. Now, the reality is, Stefano, 98% of organizations are now multi-cloud, 98%, which means if you only learn one cloud, you're not going to have any opportunity to work anywhere. But if you learn the cloud, it doesn't matter whether the organization has a Nutanix cloud or an OpenStack cloud, and they're becoming much more popular because it's much cheaper to run a private cloud than a public cloud. And you connect that to AWS, Azure, and Google, you can do it all. So learn the cloud, and you're going to be in great, great, great shape. Elvis, great question. What's the difference between system architecture and cloud architecture? Well, it depends. And here's what I mean by it depends. It actually depends what somebody's calling systems architecture. So some people would consider systems architecture to be the entire thing. Somebody else might consider systems architecture to be the processor in a computer, or how a GPU is designed, a graphics processor, or how a router is designed, a systems architecture. So systems architecture is really a term that doesn't mean anything, because no matter which company you go to, it can mean something else. Cloud architecture specifically describes the strategy and the blueprint that you design of systems on the cloud. So what are we really doing? We're all going back to figuring out which business problems we need to solve. And after that, we're coming up with a new business architecture. And after that, we're selecting the kind of technology that fits into that. And whether it be a virtual machine, for example, in the data center, or a virtual machine in the cloud, it's the same thing. But if we're putting it in the cloud, we're calling it cloud architecture. So cloud architecture is the end-to-end system design of the systems that are in the cloud. Now, Elvis, now the definition of a cloud is getting a little fuzzy, because a company's data center and a public cloud provider aren't that much different. And it's becoming very common for organizations to install the OpenStack or the Nutanix software inside of their data center as a replacement or adjunct to the VMware they're using. And then they can run that, and they can, for extra performance, and then they can also work with the cloud. But that's still cloud architecture. It's just multi-cloud architecture, which falls under cloud architecture. Good question, Elvis.
All right, so Daniel says, where to start off if one wants to break into the cloud as a cloud architect?
Right here.
Daniel, start here. So Daniel, I'm going to give you a couple ideas. First thing, please download the free guide. My team will put it here on how to become a cloud architect. It will tell you everything that you actually need to learn. The second thing that we'll tell you is attend our free webinar on Thursday. My team will also put the link for that for you to register. Now, here's the thing, Daniel. A cloud architect is a very special position, and we're the only people out there that actually train architects. There's a tremendous number of cloud architect programs out there, but they don't teach any architecture. They teach engineering, and we retrain people from everybody's boot camp that's out there. You name it. Somebody paid $8,000 to $35,000, we retrained them. And the reason is architecture is design. So the things that you have to learn as an architect are how to sell, because we have to sell our architectures. Whether we're pre-sales, we're always selling, and if we don't sell, we don't get any bonus. And if we're post-sales, we still have to sell our architectures to the leadership team. We have to develop something called CXO relevancy, and that means how do you relate to the C-level executive? We have to develop something called executive presence. Hi, Daniel. My name's Mike. That's without executive presence. Or my name is Mike. There's still no executive presence. But even if I do this, hi, I'm Mike, I still don't have any executive presence. But hi, Daniel. This is Mike Gibbs, and I'm here to help you. Now I've got executive presence. So you're going to need some training on that, because without it, you're not going to be able to sell a $500 million architecture, which we have to do as part of our jobs. You're also going to have to learn how to facilitate meetings. You're going to have to learn how to manage stakeholders. And you're going to have to develop a tremendous amount of emotional intelligence because we have to get the requirements from the client, take them, build a team of our own system designers, document it, respond to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs. If you don't know what they are, we'll happily teach you. And then you've got to go present it to the customer and negotiate the deal. Now, we also do system design. A cloud architect will never touch the technology. We don't code, we don't configure, we don't do anything that's in a certification boot camp. We actually design architectures. And there the key is you've got to learn the networking, the data center, and the cloud components. We've got a program we get people hired almost every single day with or without a background. Our graduates are working at AWS, they're working at Azure, they're working at Google, they're working at Apple, they're working at IBM, they're working at Cisco, they're working at KPMG, Deloitte, Accenture, Capgemini, they're working everywhere. And that's the secret formula. Either you can go to a business school like I did and then take leadership courses like that, or we could train you, but it is an incredibly great job. I highly encourage it, and it'll be a wonderful career for you. And if you're not ready for us yet, keep coming and watching some free YouTube videos, read that free document, and at least you'll know what to learn on your own or wherever you're going to get it.
Okay. Darnell, not so much a question as a statement. Alonzo, I'll let you start off if you want to provide any commentary here. So
Absolutely.
Someone that can lead, sell, give presentations, all these things scare me because I'm not good in these areas.
Well, you know what, Darnell, it's just like cloud architecture. We teach you how to do that as well. All we ask is that you have a great internet connection and the ability and desire to learn. Not everybody is comfortable being on the proverbial stage, if you will, to present ideas, leadership, and so forth, and convey ideas. And that's okay. And it's okay to be able to start somewhere where you're not comfortable. But the idea is that we're going to teach you and carry you over into that space of comfort. Case in point, people may believe that Michael Gibbs is an extrovert, that he loves being out on the front stage. Actually, he's not. He's an introvert. He loves the quiet space, being off to the side and not having the attention. But through the exact same training that you'll receive, you'll be able to do the same thing he's doing and continue to iterate that practice, get stronger, and be supported by a wonderful community that in some cases, some feel the same way you do. So you're not alone in how you feel, and you won't be alone in how you transition into becoming a successful cloud architect.
I couldn't have said that better myself. The key here is to remember not everybody starts as someone that's comfortable at giving presentations, and not everybody starts off as someone that's comfortable leading or selling or any of that. Just like nobody starts off knowing how to design an architecture. So that's all part of the training and development process. I mean, yes, there are some people that are just naturally gifted speakers, but they still have to practice to get it right. They still have to train to get it right. You know, you can have all the comfort with speaking in the world, but be horrible at it. Or you could be the best speaker at the world and be uncomfortable at it. So just something to keep in mind there. Mohammed says, how can I be an AWS data engineer?
Well, Mohammed, I'll give you some general guidelines, but I'm also going to tell you data engineering is not our world. We've taken many data engineers and data architects and trained them to be cloud architects because it pays much better and there's far more opportunity. But I'll tell you a few things that you will need to learn. And then you will definitely need to understand the mapping and reduction process, things like PySpark. You will definitely need to have really good understanding of ETL tools that are out there, whether they be cloud, ETL tools, or regular, because there's no such thing as an AWS data engineer. There's data engineers. If you limit yourself to AWS, you're not going to have a job anywhere because 98% of organizations are multi-cloud. So you have to focus on being a data engineer. After that, we have to talk about streaming data, which for the most part is Apache Kafka, queuing and type things. And we also have to deal with, caching, because there's a lot of caching in the big data environment. You're going to have good, strong knowledge of object storage, because when we're dealing with object storage, we've got a tremendous amount of metadata that's actually there. You should be very good with all the machine learning type of algorithms, PyTorch, TensorFlow, all those other cloud-based things like Amazon SageMaker. But there's cloud providers one, and there's other ones that are out there. So you should get pretty good and familiar with those types of things. You're going to have a good understanding of Linux, and you should have a good understanding of relational databases like the Oracle Relational Database, or MySQL, or MariaDB. You should have a good understanding of NoSQL databases like Apache Cassandra and Mongo database. And you should have a good understanding of data warehouses like Postgres, for example. But I'm not a data engineer, but that should get you really started. But what I would do, fellas, is I would find a principal data engineer and a principal data architect, nobody junior to them because they don't know, they haven't made it themselves. And I would ask them, what are the things that you learned that helped you get to the top? Or find a VP of data engineering somewhere and ask them. And if you can combine that with what you told you, we think you're going to be on a really good plan. But we take people from these jobs and teach them how to be cloud architects. But some people love data, and if you love data, it's a great thing. But I just want to make sure that these are guidelines to start, but it's not our expertise.
All right.
Let's get to the LinkedIn user.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the LinkedIn user says, well, actually, that wasn't the one I was going to talk about, but that's okay. It's good.
Taking me out of order here, so tell me.
Well, I was going to, do I need to know programming? Because that's the most dangerous question out there. Do you need to know programming to become a cloud architect? No. So I want to make it clear what we do. We design networking and data center solutions. So if I said to you, Polis isa simera, ogoyme daxi, isa daxi, I'd be speaking to you in Greek. Learning Python is like learning another language. Now, learning Greek might be beneficial to your career. Learning Spanish could also be beneficial to your career. Or if you're in Spain, learning English would be beneficial to your career. But learning how to code has no benefit to the cloud architect. Now, you need to sell, you need to learn how to design, you need to learn how to lead, you need to learn a slight amount of project management, not much, just a slight amount. You need to develop your executive presence, your emotional intelligence, your sales skills. You're also going to need to learn the network, data center, and the cloud technology and how to design them. But we do no hands-on engineering, no infrastructure as code, no coding, not to be an architect. And it's not going to give you any benefit because we're not application architects looking how to design an application. We're architects that are looking to design this end-to-end solution to improve a customer's business performance. So no need to know programming to be an architect. We don't code. We don't touch the technology, actually, other than writing Word documents, PowerPoint documents, and Excel spreadsheets.
All right. So the next question, you've provided an overview of TOGAF, Understanding Business Architecture Vision. How do you implement strategies like gap analysis?
Well, that's the kind of thing that we teach. It takes us about 500 to 700 hours to teach people how to do these things. This is what an architect does. But if you have, it's essentially about, you start where the beginning is. Here's what my beginning business architecture looks like. The sales process occurs this way. The marketing process occurs this way. Customer feedback and customer sentiment comes in this way. The marketing team does this. The finance team does this, etc. So you have to understand all those things, and obviously we teach all these things to our students. And then you have to understand what it needs to look like in the future. And that means you have to have the business acumen to be able to read a balance sheet and a financial statement, which of course we teach. You have to be able to look at the macro and the microeconomic environment. What's going on, globally, macroeconomic wise, but microeconomic wise, what's going on inside that organization's business. What's going on in the healthcare microcosm in the US related to regulation, payers, and etc. Then from there, you're going to have to really know how to learn how to reach out to the stakeholders and find what they need and what they don't need and where they want to go, because that's also going to be a really critical thing for you. And then from there, it's just running an analysis. And it's going to take the business acumen that you either learned in business school or we teach you to be able to run that analysis. I love TOGAF, Wong. It is the most beautiful framework of telling experienced enterprise architects how to do it in a structured and repeatable manner, and that's what it's designed for. It doesn't teach you how to be an architect. it takes architects and teaches them the same way. So I'll give you an example. My wife practiced internal medicine and I did a lot more orthopedics. In orthopedics, I start from the foot and work my way to the head. Why? Because most orthopedic problems, or many, start from the feet, specifically the big toe and then the ankle. My wife, who practiced internal medicine, works from the head and gets to the feet. Now, TOGAF is basically saying, hey, every doctor, start from the head and work your way to the feet. So you've got to learn how to do those things. You can get that knowledge from us. This is primarily what we teach in our program. Or you can go get an MBA and you can learn it there. But that gap analysis, these are business skills. And that's one of the things that we teach. And that's one of the reasons our students are so successful. But it's not something I can answer in an hour. It would take me, 100 hours, 200 hours, 300 hours. And that's why our program is 700 hours.
Right. Another of the great questions. I'll let Alonso kick this one off, maybe with a steering wheel or car analogy. OCI, Azure, or AWS?
What's the difference?
Actually, I don't know what OCI is. So if someone wants to fill me in
Oracle,
on OCI.
Oracle Cloud Infrastructure.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
They put OCI / Azure. So I'm like, are they the same thing? What's going on here?
Yeah. OCI, Azure, AWS, Alibaba, IBM. What's the difference? Just like United Airlines, Delta, Southwest, Spirit. You can choose any of those airlines like you would in architecture. However, at the end of the day, they're still going to get you to the destination that you choose. Okay. It's the same thing here. We talk about the agnostic cloud, and you think about and look at it from this perspective. At the end of the day, this architecture, the technology used is no different. It's not new. It's not new at all. This has just been repurposed, repackaged by some very great marketers to showcase their version of it and how they want to sell it in the industry. These are no different from anyone else. So understand that from the agnostic perspective, block storage is block storage, object storage is object storage, but the underlying connectivity of it is going to be through BGP. So at the end of the day, there is no better, no worse scenario, but what is it going to be? How is it going to be better for the client? How are you going to integrate these components within a multi-cloud architecture, which again, Mike had stressed, 98% of these industries are vying for? You have to find out what combination of this technology, how it's going to work. And he illustrated in our classes when it boils down to the very wattage. When you look at it from an infinitesimal perspective, how is this going to matter for the business? Cost-wise, efficiency-wise, latency-wise, disaster recovery-wise, and a plethora of other facets that are very, very integral to the success of this architecture. So when you boil it down and you look at it from that perspective, it doesn't matter what brand. At the end of the day, what's good for the customer and how are you going to leverage these resources to realize their goals?
Exactly. And there's something coming in LinkedIn. There is no DevOps in architecture.
Nope.
None, zero. And we may see job descriptions, but job descriptions in technology are 100% meaningless. Someone from my team, please put the link from CIO Magazine and what is a cloud architect. And what happened is these cloud architect job descriptions are so worthless, they're meaningless. We've had VPs from cloud companies come to us and say, don't read our job descriptions. They're cut and paste errors from something else. I will tell you, the only way to get the job description is to ask the hiring manager. If you see an architect job and it has Python in it, it has DevOps in it, it's not an architect job, it's a cloud engineering job or a DevOps engineering job with a different name. Architects do not code, architects do not configure. The second you do, you take your eye off the ball, and that as soon as that happens, it is all over. In fact, if you actually work for AWS, Azure, Google, Microsoft, Cisco, IBM, Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini as an architect, and you try to touch the customer's technology, you'll be escorted out the door by security. We design it, and there are complete and total other build teams. And here's the reason. There's two reasons they don't let architects do the building. One is the engineering is typically done overseas by someone that's much less expensive, highly educated, highly smart, But if you can get a programmer in another country for $15 an hour, you're not going to take your $200 hour an architect to do it. The second thing has to do really with your focus. The second you have to code or do any DevOps tools, you're going to find yourself in the position right now. Can you share that, Chris or Tyrone? Right, going on right outside my house, you can see a cute photo of a squirrel. The squirrel's real cute, right? Squirrel's running around. The squirrel looks happy. The grass is green. This is from my backyard. Now, when you're an engineer, you must be zoomed in to see what's in front of you. Now, let me show you what was really happening here. And because I had to zoom out to take the photo. And this is the reason why architects are not allowed to touch the technology in their jobs. This is really what was going on in the background. I zoomed in on the photo of the squirrel, but this is my cute cat, Cindy. She's like a child to me. And she was thinking how to turn that squirrel into lunch. And that's what happens when people focus directly on the technology that's in front of them. What happens is they miss the big picture. And that's why if you work as an architect in any major company, like I said, AWS, Azure, Google, Cisco, Dell, HP, Capgemini, Accenture, Deloitte, a bank like JP Morgan Chase, you won't be allowed to touch the technology. There's no DevOps in our job. There's no coding in our job. It's design, present, sell, lead, gather requirements, do gap analysis, vendor negotiation, because it's not like it's ever going to be just one cloud provider. You could be on AWS and you could be using Palo Alto security and Fortinet security and databases from this company and proprietary applications. It's not like a certification. Hope I answered you there. Because in fact.
So let's go to the question that started that. So, sorry, that's not it. These things aren't coming in like they're supposed to. So there was a question that started that from LinkedIn. While looking at cloud architect job postings on LinkedIn, I've seen a lot of coding, DevOps, and so forth. Is this because HR doesn't know what cloud architect does? That's one reason. That's one reason. The other reason is because people don't take the time to write an actual job description for the actual job. They just take other people's job descriptions and reuse them because nobody has enough time to write a job description. Even though they desperately need somebody to fill the job, they don't have the time. They don't have the time to write the job description. It's like a chicken or egg situation. Because they don't have somebody in the role, they don't have enough time to be able to write the job description properly. So in these same job descriptions, you're going to see entry-level positions that require 5 or 10 years of experience for an entry-level position. You're going to see experience in technologies longer than the technology has been around. You're going to see things that just make absolutely no sense at all. And that's what it is. So it's not just that HR doesn't know what the cloud architect does. HR doesn't know what anybody does. That's not their job. No. That's the hiring manager's job. The hiring manager knows what the architect does. The hiring manager knows what the engineer does. The hiring manager knows what the sous chef does. The hiring manager knows what the guest service agent at the hotel does. The hiring manager knows what the mechanic and the service center at the car dealership does. Not HR. No. HR doesn't know. HR takes what the hiring manager gives them. The hiring manager doesn't have enough time to put together a good job description. So they take other people's job descriptions and then just add a bunch of stuff to it that they want. And then you get this Frankenstein piece that doesn't make any sense.
And that's why applying for jobs is the worst way to go. I've only applied for one job. And the only reason that occurred is I was in Dubai and I bought my wife this beautiful new Mac and she applied to Cisco for me and then Cisco called me. I work with recruiters. A recruiter gets paid 20% of my salary to go find me a job. And they're very motivated to do it. If Alonzo is the hiring manager, the recruiter is going to have a call. Hey, Alonzo, it's Joey, the recruiter. How you doing today? And Alonzo's going to be smiling. I'm going to say, Joe, and I'm going to say, Alonzo, I really want you to talk to Jake. Jake is a rock star architect. Before us, he worked at Microsoft. Prior to that, he worked for IBM. And prior to that, he worked for Cisco. He's smart. He speaks well. He can sell and he could lead. Alonzo, would you like to meet him?
Absolutely.
Now, Nathaniel, after Alonzo meets him, he says, I want to hire this guy. And Alonzo says, well, this guy's got more business acumen than the next guy. I'm going to pay him 1.3 times the average engineer, the average architect salary. That's going to be called the comp ratio. And he then tells you, Nathaniel, please apply for this job. It's a formality, you're already hired. Then HR will send you the offer letter. HR was totally removed from the entire ridiculous process. The hiring manager who they want. Now, Nathaniel, 9 months from now, you're going to get auto rejected from HR and say you don't meet the minimum requirements for the job after you've already been promoted. And that's happened to me at almost every job. I've never had more than 10% of the skills in a job description, and I've never been on an interview where I didn't get an offer. And the key is have the right skills, but don't worry about some of these job descriptions. Work with a good recruiter.
All right. LinkedIn user asked how to crack the cloud architect interview.
Okay, I'm going to make it very clear. If you're a cloud architect, it's nothing to get hired. But, here's what it's really like when we interview people. If I ask someone, how would I load share across 2 equal cost direct connections without getting out of order packets? I get answers like, use a load balancer. But a load balancer is not the solution. They have to know BGP, which means they have to understand networking. They have to understand how to promote synchronous versus asynchronous routing on the wide area connection. And they also have to understand how to tune the routing with regards to traffic engineering. Now, when someone passes a certification like the AWS Advanced Networking, there's no networking in it, none, zero. It's just, how to click a couple of boxes. So if somebody's path is getting certified, don't ever expect them to pass the cloud architect interview. In fact, I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, asked them basic architecture questions, and none of them could answer them. And that's why I started this company. They knew how to write a CloudFormation template. They knew how to write a Python script, which we don't do in our job, but none of them had any idea how to design. So you have to learn how to sell. Why? The interview is a sales call. You also have to learn how to design the solution. Now, LinkedIn user, here's the thing. Let's say you're an expert on OSPF or BGP or load balancer algorithms, whether it's round robin, weighted round robin, or whichever one you're going to choose. If you can't communicate it to me when I ask you questions on an interview, I can't hire you because I don't know what you know. It's not like we're going to ask you to build stuff as an architect, because architects don't build. So it's first being trained in having the right skills, and then it's practicing the interview. We've got a free download on how to win the interview. Please download it. And that will work provided you actually have the skills for the job. But you've got to have the skills for the job. So I would ask you, what have you done? Also, you're going to have to become a master presenter for a cloud architect interview, because you're going to have to give a presentation as the final stage. So you have to have architecture knowledge, which is how stuff works, not how to configure it. You have to have the design knowledge to be able to do it. You must show executive presence. You must show good sales skills. You must show good leadership skills. And that's why most people don't get cloud architect jobs, because they're learning how to write Python scripts. They're learning DevOps. They're learning SysOps, which is not our job. And then they say, give me a presentation to the 5 executives in the room. And the person can't do it. That's how to crack it. And that's how to pass. And my students with no experience pass almost every day of the week.
All right. Diggleman asked, what's a stack?
I don't know, a stack of papers? An application stack?
A little more specific.
I don't know.
Specificity.
That's one good thing is Dingleman will teach you how not to use slang and not to use jargon, because if you try to talk about it with an executive, they won't know.
I gotta sneeze. Somebody read this.
Lonzo, you want to read that?
Absolutely. From Leo, quick one. Do you get courses in AWS, Oracle, Cloud Infrastructure, Azure, or is it more on design fundamentals?
It's both, but let me be clear. Leo, you can have the Azure Solutions Architect Expert, the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional, the Google Professional Cloud Architect, and the Oracle one, and no one will hire you as a cloud architect because there's no architecture in these. All it really is here's the names of our products. Go sell it. And oh, by the way, it's good without teaching you how it works. So we design every single day across multiple clouds, AWS, Azure, are typically the two clouds that we teach. And of course, we have professional and expert level training on our program for it. But our focus is making you a cloud architect and not getting you hired, not worrying about silly things. We had a student 3 weeks ago, no, it was 4 weeks ago, who got a $404,000 job offer. He can take that $404,000 job offer and he can go buy any house he wants for it and any car he wants for it. I can't go to my bank and say, look at my CCIE certificate. It's the best and hardest one to get in the entire world. Give me a loan. I can't buy a house with it and I can't buy a car with it. So we will teach you how to design, and we will spend hundreds of hours on that because that's our job. But we will also teach you how to translate that design, because here's the thing, Leo. When we do an architecture, when we get to the technology architecture, we've got the solution architecture itself is virtual machines, storage, containers, container orchestration, load balancers, databases, NoSQL databases. It's going to be things like that. And only after that's done can we say, oh, wait, we need a database. Let's choose the Oracle one. Oh, wait, we need a next generation firewall. Let's choose the Palo Alto versus the Cisco one, because it's not going to be the cloud provider ones anyway. Oh, wait, AWS has this really cool DynamoDB, but we can't use it. Google has the same Oracle Cloud Bigtable, but we can't use that either. Wait, why can't we use them? Because they're vendor proprietary and they don't work multi-cloud. So we'll teach you how to be an architect. And sure, we'll help you get certified, but that's nothing. Anybody can do that. But we're going to make sure that you actually have the skills to get hired like our students. And sure, we'll get you the window dressing. And that's really all the certification is window dressing. The key is having the skills. And each day that somebody focuses on a certification, which doesn't get them closer to the goal, the average architect earns $817 a day. So we focus on getting you hired and getting you hired faster, because each month that you're not working is $16,000. Instead of spending a year on silly certifications, I'd rather spend a year and get you hired and still get you some certifications along the way. Either you want to add to that?
I think that works. That's perfect.
I think you covered that one pretty good.
But that's why we get people hired every day.
FYI, just to give everybody a laugh, Mike said that he was not going to be talking as much today. But we see how that went, Mike. But that's good for all of you.
Emmanuel, we spoke this morning. It was a pleasure meeting you today. Will knowledge and information security management be a boost in the cloud architect role?
Slightly. So, Emmanuel, knowledge of how to design security systems? Yes. I.e., in order to make our demilitarized zone for our web application, we'll need a network load balancer in front of, say, 2 next-generation firewalls. It's really critical, so maybe we need another network load balancer in front of 2 next-generation firewalls. Hey, let's protect that subnet with an access list. Hey, let's put a host-based firewall/security group on the system. Let's remove unnecessary services, disable unnecessary ports on our server. While we're at it, let's add a strong IAM strategy, et cetera, et cetera. That knowledge is going to be there. So if you've got that knowledge, that will help you when you design your cloud security architectures. Now, if it's management, like network management and security management, where you're looking at tools, like from a SysOps perspective and saying, ding, 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 the firewall is down, that won't be very helpful. But it doesn't matter where your starting point is. You're going to get there anyway, Emmanuel. It's not that we need to take our last job. It's the life experiences you have that actually matter. So yes, it looks good. It's going to be something on your resume that's going to make it a lot easier for you. And we'll teach you, for example, how to translate that to something that an architecture manager would want. But it's going to be helpful. Everything that you know is helpful. Everything that you know is helpful. Learning how to practice medicine is really what taught me how to be an architect. It taught me how to interview the client, get to the heart of the problem, make the correct diagnosis, and prescribe a treatment plan. What's an architect do? They ask some questions, they examine the systems, they make a diagnosis, and they come up with a treatment plan called an architecture. So yes, it will help you, but it will help you in other ways.
All right. Let's see. Do you think cloud is better than data engineer?
Well, cloud is just somebody else's network and data center. And a data engineer will work on the cloud and off the cloud. Now, I think certain careers have a lot on the cloud, have much more upside than data engineers, a lot more upside. But you have to do what you love. But there's a lot more upside as a cloud architect or enterprise architect in sort of salary in terms of career potential. But you have to do what makes you happy. And if you love data engineering or data architecture, then it's the best job in the world for you. Because if you're happy at work, you're happy in your life. If you just earn a lot of money, and it's easy to earn a lot of money when you work to develop the right skills, if it doesn't make you happy, what good is it? Because then you'll be miserable, and then you'll just buy stuff to try and make yourself feel better. And in the end, stuff doesn't make you happy. You think it does until we have stuff, and after we have it, it's like, yeah, time with my wife matters. Time with my cat Cindy matters. Yes, I love my cat Cindy, but the important things matter, and most of those things are free.
All right. Darnell says, I'm so ready to join your program. I've burned so many bridges trying different ventures in the past. My wife don't support me trying anything, especially since I wasted $4,000 on a UCCE boot camp in 2017. And that's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's because we try to get to people before that happens, and we understand that happens, and we absolutely hate that.
Hate it.
But that's why we do these things on YouTube free, because if I could capture everybody before they spend any money and be able to answer any questions that they have, I would love to be able to.
And it's crushing. Delroy spent upwards of $8,000 on a security boot camp, and we had to retrain him. The biggest tragedy was actually Daniel Bosu. He spent $35,000 on a boot camp to somebody that never worked in tech in their entire life before they got a job at Linux Academy. And after the $35,000 boot camp, he came to us and said, how do I get hired? And I interviewed him, and he knew nothing. But he left our program 6 months later with an extremely great job for JP Morgan Chase. And we feel so bad about it. But, to dig yourself out, you can train with us, you can get an MBA. But the only way I know to advance something is actual education. And it's never a boot camp. We're not a boot camp.
No.
It's education. And it's focused, direct education. Look, I grew up poor as can be. I had 3 jobs to pay for college. And when I got my first tech job, it was like, oh my God, my life changed. And then 6 months later, when I got my next tech job, it was double what I had from the healthcare world. I had a quality of life. I got treated with so much respect, and I just loved it. I paid all my student loans back, which were very quickly, and then the rest of my life was great. But I totally get it, and I understand, and we work really hard to retrain everybody else's boot camp people. It saddens us. It really is horrible.
And one of the things that I think that may be helpful, and this is what cloud architects do, is the presentation piece, and that's the gathering of requirements, gathering of documentation to substantiate your cause back. And it talks about what's useful, what's not, what's been successful, what hasn't, and not saying that this is something that you want to do, but if this is a program that you're interested in, we have the documentation, we have the people that have been successful, and we have a lot of what could be, acceptable or possible for you to present to your wife as how this can be beneficial for your career. We don't do anything like the thing with Udemy, although there may be some great videos depending on what you're looking for, but there is no one single $15, $20, $30 video that's going to encompass an entire career moving forward for your foreseeable future. And that's what we are not. We are focused on your career, and we don't compartmentalize a bunch of people over a small set of time to somehow crowbar in knowledge for them to have a career and then evict them and eject them out of the pipeline. You are here until you get hired. So you will have that support and accessibility to the training components, to the training videos, the assignments, and everything else, and our Slack community for the duration of your lifetime, meaning you have that in perpetuity. And you also have access to our live classes 365 days, an entire year, because there's no way you can understand, learn, and be capable in a career within a short span of time without the support and of people who haven't had the experience in some sort of video you just press play, like an ASMR experience. That's not what we do. So we're here to support you until Darnell Morris gets that. We get that call from you, either an email, smoke signal, or whatever it may be, that you got hired, because that's what our goal is, not to certify, not to get a boot camp experience, but to get you in a very well-paying job that provides you security, a sense of purpose, and everything else that you're looking for in a job career.
And that's the key. Graduation for us is not some piece of paper. It's not 16 weeks. It means you're hired. It means we changed your life. That's our graduation. And by not running batches, by having the online piece self-paced, and by running the design sessions each week and repeating them every 16 weeks to 20 weeks, everybody gets every lesson, and we can keep our people there as long as they need to be hired, because it matters to us. We're not some mill that just wants to take people's money. We actually love our students. We're a family. And if my students are even in the community here, add something to the chat box. I don't know if any of you guys are here, but it means something to me, and it means something to Chris, and it means something to Alonzo.
All right, our next question. In this program, do you provide employment support, and how?
Yes, we teach you how to message yourself. We have an extremely good brand from being in major publications, several per week on average. And we teach you how to build the brand to have employers come to you. The biggest problem most of my students have once they put Go Cloud Careers, once they reach a certain part of our resume and the things they've done with us, is they get bombarded with recruiters. The bigger challenge is when, after being hit by so many recruiters, can they actually go on the interview? Because you could be with us day one, and as soon as you put it down, get an interview, but that doesn't mean you'll get hired. So we actually ask our students to wait until they actually have the skills to get hired. And we determine that's around the time is when a student gets bored in our design classes, because they automatically know what to do. They're ready to do the job, because everything we do is at least as hard as somebody would do in their job in every class. And that way our students are wildly prepared for the job. In fact, when our students get an interview architecture from a cloud provider, they call and they're like, "Is this it? Seriously? This is what they want me to design?" Like, it's so intro level compared to what we do. We use the kind of architectures I worked with in my career, and I was a principal architect, so I got to do the good stuff. And that's how my students get to learn the good stuff.
All right.
LinkedIn. Go ahead, Chris.
I'll let you take that one.
Okay.
I mean,
from a LinkedIn user, what is the best learning strategy to become a successful cloud solutions architect? I would say ours. I am not only objective, but I am subjective as well. We provide, there's a lot of people out there who train folks to become cloud architects, and yet they have never worked in a cloud architecture role, not a networking cloud, security cloud, architecture cloud, enterprise architect, anything. But they're somehow training you to be something that they have no experience in. And I can say that myself because I am a product of this training program. My former life, I was a program manager. Before that, I was in the marketing industry. I wanted a change. I wanted to find out how I can find an entry level into becoming a cloud architect. I couldn't find anything. I've gone through Linux Academy, Cloud Guru, a plethora of other training houses, and everything was the same because they were teaching me as if I'm already an established cloud engineer. Everything was totally Greek to me, upside down. It's like reading upside down in the dark in a different language. Nothing made sense. I happened to come across Mike's training videos, and one of the things that was so pivotal in my making a decision to go with Go Cloud Careers, formerly Go Cloud Architects, was that he demystified everything. He made it simple. It was no longer Greek. It was simplistic, language that anyone, regardless of a tech background or not, could understand. He itemized and broke down the concepts with 3 pivotal questions. What is the tech? What does the tech do? And when would you use it? And then he laid out all these puzzle pieces, and then he told us how they come together for an overall 10,000-foot view of this cloud architecture. And on top of that, he told us that no cloud architecture, much like a snowflake, is exactly the same. There's going to be different architectures for different needs, for different industries, based on what the customer wants, not on what we want, not on what a cloud service provider can provide, but what does the customer need? And he emphasized that over and over again in an iterative process. So a lot of, just like a college course, they'll start at A and then they'll end at Z. Out you go. We'll start at A and then we'll go back and forth to anything that's required for the overall community to learn. And we do it in an iterative process over and over and over again, because, so that everyone can understand these concepts and apply them accordingly. Now, let's move all of the tech out of the way. Now we start working on, how do you communicate this skill set, this technology, these benefits, and how does it relate to the customer? Because I'll tell you, everyone, CEOs could care less about the tech. They don't want to spend more money on tech. They don't care about the feature work, the incremental speeds, the wattages, the cores. They could care less about it. But is this going to increase revenue? Is this going to increase efficiency? Is this going to provide more of an opportunity for us to reduce our latency so we can serve our customers, our stock, or anything that's available from a health perspective? Can we reach our patients and respond to them far quicker and increase their quality of life or chances of life far better than we did before without this cloud architecture? They're interested in that. And these are some of the things outside of many that you're going to learn here: the tech side, the business side, the presentation side, and being able to couple all this through CXO relevancy, business acumen, soft skills, and so forth. So I say all this to say that I've been where you are. I started off from a career that was totally non-tech related, and I was through the proverbial wilderness to find out what I needed to learn and finding someone to help me get there. And I found it here at Go Cloud Architects, now Go Cloud Careers. And I can tell you, you can do the same. You don't have to be a math whiz. You don't have to be a tech whiz. You just have to have a strong desire to learn and the ability to work in teams and be open to possibilities and new concepts. And we can help you get through to the rest so you can become a cloud architect.
And Alonzo, you had a job on the cloud. It was just that I kind of begged you to come back, right?
Yes. And that was the fun thing, is that I have a chance to help people. I have a chance because I know what it feels like to be frustrated and not understand how to get somewhere, how to get an entry point. What is the ticket to get on this ride without you breaking it down in jargon that I don't understand and talking about code that I don't comprehend and so forth. And I'm able to help people, and I'm able to help you all along with Mike and Chris to get there, and our awesome team. So it's an awesome experience to do so.
All right. Let's see.
So let's ask these questions.
Somebody want to read this and I'll answer this?
Yep. Do I need a degree in AWS cloud computing to land a job, or is it optional? What do recruiters in the field generally think about the importance of having a degree?
So, Leonardo, you don't need a degree. In fact, Daniel Bosu, you can see a video of him, is working as a solution architect for JP Morgan Chase Bank. Very selective organization, and he didn't even graduate high school. Of course, we trained him. He was expertly trained, and he has a wonderful job. I got to see him on my birthday, and it brought me to tears to see how far this kid came from where he was at to his new apartment with his 2 new cats and a job that he loves. You need to be properly trained. Unfortunately, no degree actually teaches cloud computing. We've retrained people with master's degrees in cloud computing because they learned cloud administration, not cloud architecture. But what you do need is a willingness to learn. And you do need the right education, which is not certification. It's the kind of thing that we would teach. You need those leadership skills, business skills, sales skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence. And when you have them, you can work anywhere. Look, all my degrees are either in healthcare or in business. I never had a degree in tech, never. And I would never get a degree in tech, honestly. I think for what they teach you, the relative reward is low. Now, an MBA, I would recommend to anybody. I think the relative value is high. But, it doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is if you're able to do the job. It's just impossible to find a cloud architect now, because either you got people that are biased from taking a certification that don't know anything other than what the vendor recommends, which is whatever is most profitable for the vendor in most cases. And that's why companies buy their own architects, to not say when the vendors come in, well, I don't want to do that. That's going to lock me in. I don't want to do that. It's not going to work as good as this option. I don't want to do that. So just be great. Put your effort, your heart, and your soul into it, and the career you'll have will be amazing.
All right. Quick one. You mentioned after we add Go Cloud Careers to our resume, we may get flooded by recruiters. Even after 6 months, when should we feel we're ready?
Darnell, here's my perception of when you're ready. When you're in a design class of ours and you get bored, I know how to do that. I know how to architect the network, architect the demilitarized zones, architect the compute, architect the storage, architect the rest of the security. You're ready. And when you can present it back in class and show us that you can do it and sell it back to us, when you can do that, you'll get hired.
Yeah.
That's a great question, though.
From Shah Jahan, is there an impact on cloud roles due to all technology's tools, considering the fact that AI is capable of doing many technical things?
Massive impact on technology careers. So it increases the number of architect jobs dramatically, because now every company says, oh my God, we need this new technology. This new technology can improve our business performance. And that brings in the architects to design it, present, and sell it. Because the design, present, and sell process is all about your humanity, your emotional intelligence, your communication skills, your leadership skills, architects are never replaceable by technology. Plus, we sell, which means we generate revenue, which means even when people are getting laid off in a down economy, we're still getting hired. Now, engineering jobs, yes, unfortunately, I feel that 50 to 70% of engineering jobs will be lost. And the reason I feel this way is AI can do most of what engineering can do. If we're talking about a software developer, let's say I've got a scale of 1 to 10. The 8s, 9s, and 10s of the developers, they're not going to lose their job because they're the best of the best, and we need them. But we've got the 1 through the 5s. AI can do a better job than they can do, and it doesn't need to be paid. It doesn't ask for a raise. It doesn't need healthcare insurance, and it doesn't work 24 hours a day, and it'll work 24 hours a day and never need a vacation. So, yes. AI is hugely going to impact engineering careers. And in fact, we had a highly desirable cloud engineering program, and we cut it about 1.5 years ago because we saw what was going on with generative AI, and we didn't want to train people for careers that we didn't think had a future. And then we increased our focus on architecture careers. And we've got even more in development, and we're going to be bringing them soon, because architecture is the career of the future. Because I like to say, celebrate your humanity. Nobody can replace you. No AI is going to sell $1 billion technology deal. No AI is going to negotiate it. No AI is going to present to a chief information officer, chief executive officer, and chief financial officer, and chief technology officer and convince them to buy something. So architecture careers, big boom. Engineering careers, we see seriously damaged. We're not recommending to anybody to do any engineering careers right now unless they love it, and want it. And then we're saying, if you're going to be an engineer, make sure to get business acumen, leadership skills, sales skills, executive presence, and emotional intelligence, because that way they'll have this distinguished engineer skills, or can move into sales engineering jobs later when the back-end engineering jobs get cut and replaced by technology. But architects, big boom for us, and we love it.
All right. So let's see. Which cloud is topped?
The cloud. AWS, Azure, Google, Alibaba, Dell, It's the same thing. Same virtual machine, 10 different names. Which car do you learn to drive on? You want to learn a Ford, a Chevy, a Mercedes, a BMW, a Hyundai? Guess what? You drive one, you can drive them all. Now, granted, if AWS calls this elastic vector changer, and Azure calls this a Azure Angular Directional Vehicular Changer, and Google calls it a cloud-based diagonal rotational thingy, you're never going to know what it is. But if you learn that this is a steering wheel, you're good. So learn the cloud, and then you know all clouds. Block storage, same on all clouds. Object storage, same on all clouds. Load balancers, same on all clouds. BGP, same on all clouds. How to design and demilitarize them, same on all clouds. How to use a relational database or a NoSQL database, same on all clouds. None of it's different. Learn the cloud. Now, if you do certification, they won't teach you anything about the cloud. They'll just teach you the name of the services and how to configure them. In fact, I used to think, Chris and I saw me do it. We took AWS certified people, and they didn't know what a CPU was, or a CPU core was, or a GPU in an architecture challenge. If you learn the cloud, you'll know it. If you learn the certification, you're just going to know vendor names, which you can't use in front of your customers anyway. So keep that in the back of mind. Learn the cloud. Learn how the cloud works, the underlying infrastructure in that data center, and you know everything. So we teach all clouds. But we do focus on AWS, Azure. And Hussein, we have every student of ours build their own cloud from scratch. That's what I mean. They all build their own cloud. And why? Because when you build your own cloud, you actually learn how the cloud works. And then you realize that any other cloud you work on is the same. So we teach AWS, Azure, and OpenStack. But there are times we'll work on the Google Cloud. There are times we'll do something on Oracle, just to prove a point that if you know the clouds, you can do anything.
All right.
From Cynthia, how do I join the live class tomorrow for the Cloud Architect course? Cynthia, go ahead.
I think she's referring to the webinar we're talking tomorrow about learning how to become a cloud architect.
Yep.
So please provide a link to that in the chat box. Now, if you are a student, a current student, you're trying to join the course, then please check for the welcome email, welcome to Go Cloud Careers. And in that, it'll have instructions. But I had a feeling, Alonzo, that I interpreted that she was looking for the how to become an architect class tonight.
It's all right, man. You got it covered.
All right. So I want to let everybody know we're going to be wrapping up here in just a little bit. So if you've got any last questions, let us know. And if you're not able to get the questions in, please join us for this webinar that I am about to post a link for. It's not just for Cynthia; it's for everybody.
Everybody.
And you can come and you can talk with us and interact with us on camera, off mute, whatever. You don't have to stick to just the chat box. So same 3 people, just a different day and a different time. Let's see. So Emmanuel says that he thinks that you answered this when you answered Shahan's answer earlier. In this dynamic trend of AI, machine learning, and other technological know-hows, where do you see this career in decades to come?
Actually, Emmanuel, that's a really good question, and it's a little different than the last question. The good news is I've had every kind of architect job that's existed from even before the architects existed. About 25 years ago, I held a design engineer role. And what was a design engineer? The design engineer was someone that didn't touch the technology. They would plan what it would look like. Here's where your servers would look like. Here's where your routers would look like. Here's where your switches. And you know what we were focused on? The tech and the tech only and making it work. Now, about 2 years later, they had these things called technical architects. And you know what they really were? They were design engineers. And they got really techie all design. And you know what they focused on? The tech. Let's please add that link on LinkedIn. Now, right after that, they had a new kind of person that was called the solution architect. And here's what the solution architect became. If you worked at Cisco, you sold only Cisco stuff as a solution architect. Sure, you might have to integrate with something else, but they worked for a company like Cisco, and they designed Cisco stuff. They would design it, present it, and sell it to the customer. And this role was 50% tech, and now 50% business. It's the first time ever architects focused on the business. And then we started to reach the cloud architect, which is much more like the enterprise architect. And now, because the cloud is a network and a data center combined, the architects can't get as techy or deep as they could if like in a networking world. Now the architecture role took even more business. And what I mean by even more business, we're upwards of 70 to 80% business for these jobs, and 20 to 30% tech. And we architects started focusing much, much, much more, and I'm going to show you some statistics, on business, and more business. And then they reached the enterprise architect world, which is really my favorite of the roles. And now we're dealing with 80 to 100% business and a little bit of tech. So Emmanuel, as the technology gets better, and as there's new technologies, there are many more jobs for the architects. But our jobs become much more stakeholder management, much more vendor negotiation, much more leadership, much more sales, much more executive as IT becomes a bigger and bigger competitive advantage. Now you can see what you can see with the principal cloud architect role. I was a principal architect in less than 2 years. And you can see, an engineering salary, like a cloud engineer, is like $150,000. And here's a principal architect salary at Google. Average pay is $508. These are printouts from Glassdoor, with a pay range of $394 to $677. AWS principal architect, they pay a little bit less. They pay $372 on average, with a $291 to $491 pay range. And you're seeing Microsoft, which is kind of somewhere in between. Average pay is $379 with a pay range of $300 to $495. And then you can see bigger enterprise architect roles and bigger chief role architect roles that pay $800,000 plus. So what you can see is these jobs are becoming less and less technical and more business. As we've got new technologies, how do these technologies support the business? Not how do we make them work, because AI can kind of do that for us. So it's much more business oriented, and I've lived through the change. In fact, I remember as an architect, my manager suggested I get an MBA, a master's in business, and I did. And when I did that, it was like, Mike, let's send you about $100,000 of leadership training, executive skills training. Let's get you an executive coach. And I did. And that's the trend. And what the mistakes people are making is they're focusing on the mistakes of the past, the engineering, when they want to be an architect. But we don't do that anymore. We focus on the business. So Emmanuel, it's going to be the best career you can possibly imagine. I highly encourage you to participate in it. I love it. It's the best thing I've ever done. And if I don't like it, I won't do it.
All right. If we've got any more questions, please put them in the chat box or in the comments. I just shared that link for tomorrow's webinar on both LinkedIn and on YouTube. So make sure to join us there, where again, you can talk with us live and ask us questions off mute and in person. While we wait to see if there's any last questions, either of you have anything to add?
No, we're glad that I think one of the things that we need to underscore to everyone here is that don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt an entryway here. Don't doubt that there aren't possibilities for you to become cloud architects. Really examine who we are as an organization, what we've done in the community, what we've done with our students from a global scale, and how we've helped change their trajectory into becoming cloud architects. This is possible for you. It doesn't matter that you don't know code. It doesn't matter that you didn't have a technological background. What matters is that you want to be here and that you're going to see it through. And the rest of it, we'll make sure you have.
Yeah, and that's the key, is we can all do anything we desire. And the worst thing that happens is we tell our friends and they don't have ambitions and they tell us all the reasons we can't. I can remember 25 years ago when I was practicing internal medicine in an office, and I told, my medical assistants, the nurse in the office, I'm going to learn tech. They all laughed at me. They said, you don't have any degrees in tech. What are you going to do? And I took a boot camp, which was the stupidest waste of money I could have ever spent in my entire life. Instead, I should have taken a training program that actually taught me what I needed, but that's neither here nor there. If the boot camp taught networking and not certifications, it would have worked, but they didn't teach. They taught certifications. And 6 months later, I went on my first interview. I was interviewed by a guy named Devendra in Piscataway, New Jersey at WorldCom. And He asked me a question, I answered it. He asked me another question and I answered it. And he asked me a third tech question. And my response to Devendra, I remember it like it was yesterday. I said, Devendra, I'm sorry I've not had the opportunity to learn that technology yet, but I'm highly energetic, I'm highly enthusiastic, and I absolutely love technology. I said, I know what I know and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things quickly. I said, if this is important to you, I'd stay up and read 1,000 pages a night, and as long as it took to be the best on your team with this. He stuck out his hand and said, you're hired. Now, I had applied to be a network engineer. Well, I didn't apply. I went through a recruiter. The guy's name was Drago, for a network engineer. And Devendra, after he shook my hand, he said to me, I'm going to hire you. He said, but I have a problem with you being a network engineer. And I thought maybe the people were right. I had to be a network admin. He said, you're a senior network engineer. And I remember, like, huh? He's like, I see the look on your face, but Mike, you know more than 2/3 of my staff, and you just told me you've never worked in tech in your life. He said, you're a senior engineer. 6 months later, I was the lead architect at the world's largest internet service provider. And then after that, I went to Wall Street. The point is, all of you can do it. Every one of you can have a job that you love, the career of your dreams, with the right attitude, energy, coaching, training plan, and preparation and education. You can get anything you desire.
All right, let's see. So we got Julius with the kind words here. Hello, Mike and the team. I recently joined your program and I'm enjoying everything and learning. Happy to be a member of this great community and hope to get a career. Thanks.
Good.
We are excited to have you as part of the community as well, Julius. Look forward to seeing you in class. I'll be teaching class on Friday, by the way. So, Emmanuel, and this will be our last question, everybody, and we'll wrap it up and see all of y'all tomorrow on our webinar. Emmanuel says, can you, in your line of training plus work
Okay, so what I think Emmanuel's asking, but I'm not sure, and Emmanuel, correct us if we're wrong. I think you're asking, can we go from an architect to an executive? The answer is yes, and I'm going to give you a couple of reasons, and I'll show you some statistics.
Yeah. Okay, I see it now.
Every architect, every executive is an architect. Wait, huh? So executives are what's called business architects. So here's what I do as a CEO. It's the same thing I did in my architecture job. I look for the business strategy. Where do I want to take the company 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? I then think of what are the systems? How is operations run? That goes straight to Chris. I don't really think about it too much, but we talk, so we know what each other's doing. How is marketing being run? Okay, Alonzo does that for me. I don't have to think about it. Who's teaching the classes? How are the customers coming in? How are we making sure that we're speaking to people that are out there every single day? That's architecture. Now, Chris is architecting how to get the business to run. Who's grading the homework assignments? Mike's sick. Which instructor that he knows that works from which one of these cloud companies can come in and teach for Mike? Wait, Mike had 400 ideas last night because he went to dinner with his wife. He had a martini and he started writing ideas like a machine gun. Boom, 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 boom. And I've gotten 50 WhatsApp messages before 9 p.m. or after 9 p.m. at night. So he's figuring out how to make that work. Alonzo, because he's in marketing, is figuring out, do we need to change the program at all? Do we need to optimize the program? Are there employers telling us something that they want more? How do we promote it? How do we do this? They're all architecture jobs. So of course, architects always move into, if they desire, executive roles. I did. And, for example, they could easily move into a senior director role. Now, there's better paying roles than senior directors, but an architect's a director level role, a senior architect. So this is a senior director at Cisco, pay range of average pay of 527, pay range of 471 to 698. Here's another one at Palo Alto. Average pay is 540 with a range of 425 to 709. We're not even coming close to what a VP pay would be in technology, or an SVP or an EVP. They're getting close to 7 figures. And of course, you can easily move into an executive role from being an architect. An architect is an executive. And that's one of the big differences between architects and engineers. They're both very vital positions. The architect is an executive that's the peer with the executives at the company that's consulting to them. The engineer is this rock star genius that builds the stuff that the architect designs. They're both equally important, but unfortunately, society doesn't pay all people the same things. If you go to the blood bank, they pay more people to the people that are coming in, to the people that took a $10,000 medical assistant boot camp to be able to draw your blood. I didn't make it that way. It's just what it is. But this is what our training is about. Our training is about turning you into that executive and giving you that business acumen, those leadership skills, those executive presence, those sales skills, in addition to teaching you design. So you can get that job and continue to move higher. That's why we do the things we do. We're not just about getting you a job. We're about changing your life. And you can see on most of the reviews, people say Mike changed my life, Mike and team. But thankfully, they always include team. So I hope you guys had a good information session today. I hope you asked all your questions. Please join us tomorrow on our Zoom meeting to learn how to get your first cloud architect job. And because it's Zoom, well, about a 30-minute presentation, and then you can come off mute, you can turn your camera on, you can ask me questions, I can mini interview you, I can guide you, I can hear the way you speak, I could look at the way you present yourselves, and I can give you a gap analysis of where you need. So I'm happy to do it. It's really hard to get on my calendar for private calls. Even at $1,200 an hour, there's a 17.5-week wait right now to get on my calendar. So twice per week, I come online free. Once on YouTube and one on this very special private Zoom webinar. Please come and join us.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Take care, everyone.